So I've moved 11 times in the last 5 years, different jobs, different cities, and even different countries. But I've still been able to maintain close relationships. And I can tell you it was not luck, but it has been being intentional in those relationships. And that's in all areas, my friendships, my family, and my work life. So I really want to share with you and break down in this video how I've done that and hopefully help you if you're trying to do the same. So the first piece is your friendships. I know that many people struggle in this area because, again, we love our friends, but we're all busy. So it's very difficult a lot of times to figure out exactly how we can schedule everybody in. And I think that's actually the solution to the problem is that you actually have to try to schedule everything in. You have to make time and put it in a calendar, put it in a group chat and make that group chat have a calendar. If you can't, put that time in, because it's really difficult otherwise to actually get things moving. And I also want to give the context that I grew up in a small town that was about 5,000 people, very close knit, knew everybody, could see each other very, very quickly. To then when I went to college, and then, like I mentioned, moving all these times, it was very difficult to keep up with people. And every time that I went home, I would intentionally schedule at least 5 different meetups with people. I was always putting that on the calendar, talking ahead of time, and just making the point to put that intention to it so that my friends and I could actually still be friends like we are today. And I know that that kind of seems like a lot for a lot of people, but I'm telling you, that level of intentionality can just really pay off. And another thing I want to say with my friendships is that it's been also important just even across borders because I've had a lot of friends even as I've been traveling. I've traveled to other countries to see friends. And I know that going to see them, even when it's not convenient, has really made an impact on us staying close. So I really encourage you to do the same. And I know that it's not always easy. And I do want to give the example that even when I moved back to Texas, I had friends, the first friends actually that visited me were not the ones that were from my hometown, but there were friends from Peru, friends that came from Mexico, and these were the first people that I got to explore the city with. They literally came my first couple weeks of being here, and it was really awesome to like actually explore with them. And again, those are the people that showed up even when this is not their home country. For me, I was just moving, and again, I could have been like, "Hey, I've got to set up, I've got to do all this stuff," but I knew when the timing aligns, you have to take advantage of those opportunities. So again, I just encourage you, if you haven't been as intentional as you need to, schedule it. When you think of somebody, send them a message. And now with like AI and all this stuff, you probably could just have it schedule out itself. But I usually will like schedule out a message if I think of somebody. And I'm also very intentional about, whenever I know I'm going on a trip and there will be a friend in the area, just reaching out ahead of time and making those plans. So the next relationships that I want to talk about are your family. And I know that this one is one that a lot of people, either put in a lot of effort or maybe not as much as they should. But like many other people, I moved away after college and I was very intentional about keeping up with my family. I couldn't travel as frequently back home as I wanted to, but I knew that whenever I did go home, I had to make the time. And I also have made, especially as an adult now and really just not having that school life, I've always made an effort not to just come for funerals and holidays, but also to come and show up for just random family events. We're having a fish fry, I'm there. We're doing something for 4th of July, okay, I'll be there. And just making sure that we're having those types of engagements that are outside of just the family festivities so that you can actually have a good connection as human beings. Because I think there is a difference from when you grow up during childhood and you kind of have these distant relationships. When you're an adult, you can really connect a lot deeper with your family. And I'll give the example. Last year with my cousins, I first of all convinced one of my cousins to learn Portuguese with me. So that brought us very close. But even when I went to Brazil last year, we got our cousins together. My one cousin that also spoke Portuguese, we got everybody together and we actually traveled there. And even with my girl cousins, we've gone on several trips across the country just together and really bond beyond just being around our family. The next relationships that I want to touch on are your work relationships. And I know for a lot of people, this is something that is a little bit difficult. And a lot of times it feels a little bit inauthentic. But I want to say that it's extremely important to look at your work relationships as some very, very important relationships in your life. Because again, you spend a lot of time at work. So you want to make sure that you're around people that you actually connect with, because those are the people that are going to really make or break your day. If you're spending 8 hours a day or more there, you want to be around people that know you, that can vouch for you, and that, again, don't drain your energy because you need that to still survive in life. One of the biggest tips I can share with that is to not just reach out to people when you need something and not just to respond whenever somebody pings you, but to actually be proactive and start asking questions, right? Engaging with your coworkers, be curious. And again, just form a deeper connection than, hey, I need this project deliverable, right? Try to be a human being and also know these people have families, these people have friends, these people have lives outside of work. And that is a great talking point that will also break down the mundane day to day activities and help you connect more and connect a lot deeper. One of the other things that I'll say too is that whenever you have these work relationships, it's also good to be a little bit more involved. If you only go to work, but you never go to work events, it's a lot harder for you to form those relationships because people don't get to see you except for when you're at your cubicle or at your desk. Try to plan time if you can't stay after work to just go to lunch together. I remember that one team I was on, we used to do walks together just to get out of the building, out of the four walls, and we would just walk around the parking lot, but just to get some fresh air. And I think that really made us closer as a group. And again, it was really kind of fun, right? Just to walk around and do something kind of abnormal. And I remember the first time we did it, they thought we were going on strike, and we had to tell everybody that we were literally just walking. So I'd say that to say, like, you really can form some deep relationships when you do that. And it's important to go beyond what other people say is enough in all of your relationships, because the core question that you should always ask yourself is, does it seem like I care? And I say that because a lot of people really struggle with, like, oh my gosh, I couldn't do this. I need to show up for this. They make it kind of like this rule based thing, and it makes it very frustrating and also stressful for them. But it's very important to also look at the fact that if you're showing that intention and you're showing up when you can and also communicating when you can't, that in itself shows that you care enough to do it. But it's the people that silently ghost, that drift away, that don't say anything really or put much effort at all, are those are the ones where the relationship just fades. And then there is nothing that you can do to save it when you haven't yourself been asking that question. Because if you really care, you will make the time for it. If you really care, you will communicate when you actually don't have the time for it. And that in itself will help people to understand who you are, understand why they should continue to connect with you, and again, help your relationship grow deeper with that person. In summary, I just want to say, if you're looking to level up your relationships this year, it is so important that just today, like, I'm already going to make a challenge for you. Reach out to someone that you haven't in a while. Reach out to somebody that you know you've been meaning to, but because you saw this video, now you need to go text them. You need to call them. You need to put time on the calendar. You need to go make time to see them, because it's one step at a time. It's one action that is with intention that will bring you closer and closer to the people that you have around you in your life. And I can tell you, I have relationships that have lasted over 20 years, and I'm not that old. It's really just through all of these moves that I've done, all of these times that I've moved to different places, I didn't move on from the relationship. I just made the time to actually connect with them, to actually see where people are, and again, meet people where they are. You'll never know how it will pan out in the end. And I can tell you, I'm so grateful that I've done that because I still have some very, very strong relationships.